Hello, you're listening to Tony Slattery's Rambling Club, and you're most welcome.
Hello, my name's Paul Carmichael.
And I'm Alan Lear.
And here we are, in much fiddling on the quiet, to meet the...
Oi, you! Fuck off!
There he is. It's the president of the Rambling Club, Mr. Tony Slattery.
Tony, you seem to be a little... Is there a problem here?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
Janet Street Porter, whom I've worked with, and is a fierce and prominent member of the Rambling Society, has no right to be in my garden naked.
Absolutely not. Is this something that she does often?
All the time. The police, I know, are busy with knife crime, but really, honestly, please stop it because you're distressing me.
Maybe we could give her some sort of a position within the club.
Well, that's what she'd like.
Shall we go into the shed?
In the shed?
In your shed?
Oh.
Just to block the sight lines.
Give me some sweets first.
Right, so here we are in the shed once more. Tony, ready for another ramble?
I certainly am, thank you.
Lovely. And how are you today, Alan, as well?
I'm extremely well, thank you. I've got my corn plasters on, so we're all prepared.
Lovely. Right, so all that we have to do is unleash the power of the Dewey Decimal Machine and see what happens, where we are transported in terms of location, and also where we are taken on our first ramble.
Tony's enchanted bingo machine. A curious contraption of cogs, levers and glowing buttons that hums with ominous energy. This machine generates 3 completely random numbers. These numbers are fed directly into the Dewey Decimal System, the arcane reference system by which books and their contents are categorized. In this way, the bingo machine conjures from thin air a topic of conversation so enthralling, so wildly unexpected, that it leaves the members of the Rambling Club both bewildered and vaguely excited. Thus, another evening is saved from the brink of boredom, thanks to Tony's marvellous, possibly haunted and entirely inexplicable bingo machine.
And here we are, gentlemen, transported once again, as if by magic, which it very well may be, to the great outdoors, next to a babbling brook, and we are ready to begin our first ramble. And the numbers from our wonderful machine are...
7, 9, 5...
795. So now all we need to do is click the button on the top of the machine here to reveal the subject. Games of chance. Games of chance. Aren't all sporting events games of chance? To an extent.
Well,
speaking as someone who's utterly ignorant of sport, I must say.
Yes, yeah. I mean, my attitude has always been that sport, basically, arbitrary things happen and then people impose a narrative on them afterwards. And even I can see that's just theology in short. So I was never particularly interested. But
Theology in short sounds like a video for a specialist audience.
we're back to the porn of the church.
We're back to the porn of the church.
Yeah.
Well, I was quite sporty when I was young. I was a black belt in judo, and that's true. And I represented England once against Holland in Rotterdam. We were beaten thoroughly because we weren't good enough. And I was on stage. No, you were in the audience when I said this, because I was being interviewed. It might have been by Richard Herring or whatever. And I said I was a black belt judo, and from the audience came a, yeah, right. I said, no, I was. I'll prove it to you. And this guy came up, took his top off. He was fatter than I was. I took my top off as well. The audience were laughing and things like that. So we had a kind of sumo grapple. And I threw him on his back. And, just put my land on top of him. And it was just jolly good, stupid fun. But then I got a communication from his wife. Said, I love my husband. We've been together 40 years. But thank you for doing to him what I've wanted to do for all my married life. So that's my sport anecdote.
But wasn't there also something else? Didn't you invent a move?
Oh, How do you know that?
Oh,
No, it's, my move was banned.
Yes.
I do remember the names. It was called, the move is a harakomi, which is an outer sweeping throw. And then a makaikomi, which is an outer winding throw, where you get the opponent's left arm, you push it in to your right armpit, you lock that down, and then you wind yourself into him with all your weight and throw yourself off the ground. So you can hit the ground with your weight on top of him. But because I combined the harai with the maki and the komi, harai, maki, komi, I was breaking too many people's ribs. I didn't mean to. I got an ippon, but eventually they stopped me. The BJA and the British Judo Association and the AJA, the Amateur Judo Association, issued me with the ban. So I couldn't use. It was very effective, but they said, no, it's too hybrid and too dangerous. And I said, but I wouldn't have liked. She would know that. You're a nice chap, you can't jab, but it's bad. It's the equivalent, you might as well get a knife out. So they did. So I was slapped on the wrist and never used it again. How do you know that? Do you know where I live? Who are you?
A vague idea, I think. So, no, sports-wise, whenever I think, obviously, immediately at school, which I think of, and terrible times being told I must play football and going out of my way to be bad, but to make it a performance, which led to my favourite school report ever, which came from my poor PE teacher, Mr. Harkness, that said, Paul does his best to appear to do nothing.
I think that's lovely.
That's a wonder. Oh, it was so true as well. So
but
true.
that's good. Any actor would kill for that review because it meant they're so still on stage and everyone's looking at them.
Whereas in this case, I would deliberately make sure the goal was missed.
Hang on. You didn't go to public school, did you?
No, I went to grammar school.
Grammar school. But didn't you tell me that you once were quite a good fencer?
Oh, we did a bit of fencing in the sixth form. Yeah, that was the only sport I've ever really enjoyed. Before that, it was rugby or cricket. And God, I didn't mind the kind of the indoor gymnasticy, not the gymnastics, but the rope climbing and wall bars. I was fine at that sort of thing, but I'm not particularly well coordinated. I can't, hit balls.
Well, you have to be, but you enjoyed fencing.
The thing about fencing is well, the way I did it anyway, it's a bit like they say about sumo wrestling. It's all in the initial burst of energy. If you can overcome the opponent in that first burst of energy, you'll be fine. But we didn't play it at a high enough level that technique really came into it.
Right too. That's interesting. I love watching the Olympics, especially the gymnastics, and I'm a fan of all sport. Really, there's no sport. I love watching darts. I love watching gymnastics. I love watching running. All the things I can't do. But it's interesting how fencing. It's not exciting to watch at an Olympic level.
And yet
you can't see what's happening, you can't see the years of skill, and it's the same with judo. They may be the best in the world, but it doesn't catch on camera. All you see is two adults in white, and you can't see what they're doing. It just looks like a drunken brawl. And it's only if you really know, and I've forgotten, but the voiceover will tell you, there's usually an expert there, and they show it again in slow motion, and you think, my God, that was quick. And it's almost balletic, what they do with the spin of an ankle or a heel or a twist of a wrist. And but when you watch it, and it's not explained, and it's not in slow motion, you might as well go down to the local pub after everyone's had loads of pints and they're arguing about football.
Which, of course, is why stage fighting and fencing, stage fighting with swords and fencing are two completely different things. Stage fighting is all about the big dramatic actions, and fencing is about, 3 ounces of pressure on your wrist. Not at the level I did it, but real fencers. It's about how your wrist moves in the 3 seconds before you disengage from the foil and that sort of thing.
I like watching bad Shakespeare stage fighting, though.
Yes.
I really do.
Well, that wonderful sequence at the end of what's that Sherlock Holmes thing that Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley are in.
Without a clue?
Without a
Without
clue,
a clue.
where Michael Caine is the actor who is hired to be Sherlock Holmes for Ben Kingsley's Watson. And towards the end, they're on an actual stage and he gets into a sword fight with the villain, and suddenly he's in his element because this is what he's trained for. And he's quoting his own reviews, and I think one of them is, this character's sword fighting was the only highlight in an otherwise miserable evening.
That's lovely. Yeah. And also, we're talking about stage things that go on. And is it apocryphal? Did it really happen? The thing where someone is shot in an Agatha Christie play and the gun doesn't go off, but the person dies anyway, and the actor who shot the gun said, "Poison! Ha ha!" And the play goes on. Quick thinking.
Yes.
I did an interview once with a guy who was the fight director for the RSC at one point, and he'd done a lot of sword fighting, and we asked him what's the best way of all, and he said the most important thing is to make sure there are lots of spare swords hidden around the set, because they do tend to break.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And then you might have to cover it. Oh, what luck! Within the fight.
I saw a wonderful... I was very lucky. I got to see Derek Jacobi playing King Lear live. And what was lovely is in that very first scene where he sends Cordelia to France, he walked up to her and there was a slap across the face.
So that reminds me of, there's a moment in a bit of Fry and Laurie, isn't there, where they do the sketch where Hugh Laurie plays the whinging Formula One driver, and it ends with Stephen Fry clocking him in the face, and he really hits him, and you see the shock on Fry's face as Laurie goes off camera. You go, oh my God!
And yet now Stephen Fry says that one of his favourite things in life is punching Hugh Laurie.
So was that before Derek Jacobi? Was it King Lear where Derek Jacobi had the massive attack of stage fright?
I don't know. This must be about 12 years ago now.
Maybe after because he wouldn't do stage for about 10 years because he was doing something massive like Lear. And he says he was in the wings before his first entrance one day, and he suddenly thought to himself, hang on a minute, how do I remember all these lines? And that was it. That was fatal. He just he didn't get the confidence back for 10 years. Quite remarkable.
What you mentioned, Stephen Fry and King Lear. Stephen Fry played King Lear at Cambridge, and he did. He was in thousands of plays at Cambridge, and I'm sure he was great. And he went to, I think it might have been even F.R. Leavis for advice about. The centre, how would he play King Lear? And it was either someone astonishingly important, and the response was, "Oh, just go down stage and have a fucking good shout." How to play King Lear. And who was the Victorian actor who was in the middle of, "Oh, blow and forgot his lines," and just simply got out of it by turning to the audience and saying, "I'm sorry, you'll have to bear with me. This is a terribly difficult part, you know." Yes, it is.
Oh, he went off stage and got the script and finished the script for the crowd. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I saw, thinking of King Lear, I did an online course on mental health and literature. And one of the segments in it was about whether or not King Lear has dementia. And they got opinions from Simon Russell Beale and Ian McKellen. And Simon Russell Beale, who was the younger man, obviously, said, "Yeah, I think definitely King Lear's got dementia. It explains all of his peculiar behaviour." And they asked Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen said, "No, I don't think Lear's got dementia. I think he's a bloody idiot."
It just throws balls at...
Yeah.
Oh, don't we all?
We do.
It's like being in a Soho nightclub.
What are you doing?
You know what?
Is this adults only?
Here we go. This machine, it's meant to be... There we go. Right, okay, we have our balls, gentlemen.
Oh.
And our subject, therefore, is inspired by the numbers
7, 4, 1.
Number 741. So... Drawing and drawings.
Drawing.
Drawing. and drawings. What immediately springs? I recently managed to buy a print of my most favourite painting, which is called A Sense of Sight. And it's one of those beautiful pieces of Victoriana where you've got an innocent-looking girl looking at a lamb for some reason. And it's actually the third picture I've bought of a Victorian girl looking at a lamb.
Oh.
Which I haven't really got a thing for particularly. I just seem to have ended up with those.
Have you spoken to Bargain Hunt?
I haven't yet.
No, well, you never know. It might be like
You never know. Drawings.
Drawings.
Do they feature much in anybody's life, that idea of actual art? And
There's one drawing on the wall of where Mark, my partner, and I live, and it's of me. And what happened was, I was in a bad way. I was taking drugs and lots of alcohol, and I had some kind of episode. I passed out. Mark found me passed out, and I had drawn, without my knowing it, a self-portrait, and it's of half my face. And people I've shown it to have said, and I've never had any artistic writing or drawing ability in my life, and they said, that's fantastic. And obviously, and Mark thinks it's good as well, and and you could, I suppose, have it psychoanalyzed, but it's a self-portrait. But I didn't look in mirrors. I can't remember doing it. Mark found it, and it's now in a frame. And it could be interpreted in many ways. But that's the only thing I've really drawn. I made ashtrays out of clay, haven't we all? But over to you, Al. That's the first thing that springs to my mind.
We actually have a copy of that drawing.
You don't?
gave us, yes.
Oh,
yeah, we do.
I'm sorry.
No, it's excellent. It's really very good. And probably going to be the first piece of podcast merch that it's going to be on all our time. But no, it really is. I had no idea it had been drawn in something of a fugue state, because it really is remarkably good. I have absolutely no facility with my hands whatsoever. I can't draw.
Oh, your wife Erica will beg to differ.
And, the generation I'm from, I'm not even going to be able to draw a pension. So, there we go. In the absence of knowledge, cheap joke.
No, drawing, yes. I like Botticelli very much. There's a little picture, it's a portrait of a young man, and it's astonishing. When I went to France, on a school trip, there was a schoolmaster there, so right, he spoke like this and liked to drink as well. So, right, this is the Louvre, we're in Paris, you could spend hours in here, but I'm going to give you a 5-minute tour of the Louvre. We wanted to run with him. He said, right, that's the Mona Lisa, ugly cow, isn't she? Never smiles. Well, the point is, the smile is mysterious. Right, on we go. Right, that's the winged victory. Now, this is a bird who's got wings and no arms. And he was doing this while getting surrounded by all sorts of art fans and toys and everything, but that's the way he did it. And we all found it hilarious. And then he went serious about, right, the thing about the winged victory is that scientists throughout the ages have thought if she'd had her arms, we don't know where her arms are, but the nature of the wings and the nature of the body means that aerodynamically she could, and all the physicists say, fly. And we went, wow. And then it was on to the next painting. He said, right, off to the cafe. So it was literally a 3-minute tour of the Louvre.
And what did you think of the Mona Lisa? Because everyone I know who's seen it says it's not that impressive, really.
Well, I mean, it's the most famous painting in the world, everyone says, and it is fascinating. I watched a documentary the other day about Da Vinci and the whole Da Vinci Code thing, and they're using different types of infrared and laser and chemicals which react with certain minuscule takings of the pigment, and it goes back layer by layer by layer. There are so many Mona Lisas behind it, there are so many copies, there are so many mysterious things in the background. I found the Da Vinci Code, I think, as a book, utterly fatuous. Dan Brown is hugely talented at selling books, but it is laughably bad. The ideas he uses, sang real, and is it Holy Blood or Holy Grail, are fascinating. But you can get, but the books themselves, it's like, what's the next one he wrote? Angels and Demons. He takes these, anyway, it sounds as if I'm slagging off Dan Brown, which I am. He's a terrible writer. You look at the things where he introduces people saying The professor didn't quite know where he was. The helicopter landed softly. Out of it he noticed a pair of long brown legs and brown hair. Yes, it was Professor Maria Cantaneschi. He'd never seen her face before, but it reminded him of, oh, Christ, it's like Barbara Cartland, investigating science.
I read the Da Vinci Code, and I had that moment where you're reading where you go, I'm reading about an albino masochist hitman monk, and I'm bored. How is that possible?
It should be interesting, shouldn't it?
Yeah. And the villain, of course, is English, and you can tell he's English because he lives in a castle and is obsessed with drinking tea. So does Dan Brown know that England is a real place? Not just an American pop culture myth.
I failed O-level drawing badly. And the art teacher said, because you're allowed to read, your report notes, this boy has no talent and will never be an artist. Drawing.
Wow. I've drawn one thing I'm actually proud of in my life, and that was for my GCSE art.
Oh.
And I wasn't going to take GCSE.
I only said...
Oh, no, I wasn't going to take this as a subject. I drew my own hand, and it actually looked okay. And it was a fluke, a total fluke. And then I was put in for GCSE art. Failed that terribly.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely awfully. One drawing I had in me. Maybe that's all we've all got in us, is one drawing.
Oh, maybe.
I had a friend who did A-level art, and he got an E on the exam. And he said that the feedback he got afterwards was after his teacher had reviewed his portfolio, he got a note back that said, it's very good, but it's not art.
Oh, dear.
The most useless feedback. Imagine.
Yes.
What is art? There's a question.
Oh.
What actually is art? I mean, how do you sum art up? Is it the entire creative act, or does it have to have validity?
Well, it depends how validity is conferred. Is it conferred by critics? Is it conferred by a composite response from a large number of people who agree that it's either art or artistic? But then again, one person's Fabergé egg can be another person's dog turd. It's all a matter of perspective. Indeed, it'd be interesting to find a Fabergé egg, and the mystery inside is an exquisitely turned turd. See, the Romanovs they didn't think that far ahead, did they?
They didn't know, they didn't anticipate the theatre of cruelty.
No, or the revolution. No, they were too busy designing big frocks and banquets and eggs with turds.
And lying about everybody else's mum sleeping with horses.
That's right. That's right.
Episode. But I mean, it's almost a cliche to say it, but a lot of the notion of what constitutes art is kind of conferred from on high, and a lot of it is fallacious, because these days people would consider Shakespeare high art, and Shakespeare was very much a writer for the masses. Charles Dickens was a writer for the masses, so popular that he could sell his books chapter by chapter, so popular that he could do a talking tour of America and make a fortune from it. These were not highfalutin ivory tower artists. These were people who were mass entertainers, but they are considered high art now, or certainly Shakespeare.
I'd love to find out when Shakespeare became this thing that was meant to not be for the working class. I wonder if it is the Victorians, possibly where you get that split, where you've got music hall, this isn't for you. I wonder if it could be to do with that.
I wonder if it's more when it became, right, we're going to turn this play completely on its head. King Lear is not a real king, so we'll have you dressed as a pantomime dame, okay? And it's set in neo-Stalinist Cleethorpes. The set, there isn't really a set. In fact, there's just a hole in the ground, and the audience is invited to tumble in, you see. And you say, oh, for God's sake, it was probably the Royal Court. No, I shouldn't say that. No, I'm talking about the wild reinterpretations. I know it's good to reinterpret, but you've got to have a solid grip on the meaning of the piece. Before, it's like Picasso, before he became a surrealist, started with the nuts and bolts of drawing with a pencil and portraiture before his mind took him into those wonderful, unexpected places. It didn't start like that. I have a picture, one of my favourite pictures was I cut out of a book which I had bought, is a pencil drawing by Picasso when he was about 14. And it's just pencil, and it's beautiful. It's portrait of Paul, a young boy about 6. And he drew it in pencil, and it's absolutely beautiful and heart-wrenching in the sense of that is innocence, and I feel I know who Paul is, and so you start with the basics. Before deconstructing it, you have to construct it in the first place.
It's like Les Dawson playing the piano, isn't it?
Indeed.
You've got to be very good at it to do it that bad.
Yes, that's a brilliant leap as well, from Picasso to Les Dawson. But they're both surrealists in a way.
Was it Picasso or was it Dali who got in the habit of never paying in restaurants because he used to pay by cheque? And
That
then
was-
just before he handed the cheque over, he'd do a doodle on the back. And then, well, you're not going to cash an original doodle by
No, that was
Dali or Picasso. Was it Picasso?
I think it was.
Yeah,
I've
it
was,
forgotten
yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful, though. But critics you mentioned before, Tony.
Yes.
Well, so, I mean,
But can I just before we go on to that, can I just say I think there's a flaw in the way we teach Shakespeare,
Go
which
on.
is that we teach people from the text, which is boring. Of course, it's boring. You're not meant to read a play. You're supposed to watch a play.
Sure.
And
Or
and
ideally both.
well, yeah, I think I would say you have to watch it first, and then
Yeah.
because people, I think people assume that you wouldn't understand it without having had some interpretation of the text. But if you're watching a good version, the actors get the sense across. You don't need to understand every word.
No.
You understand what they mean, and then you can take it apart and say, well, it's this and this and this, and this is a reference to what was happening in Elizabethan England and so forth. But I think it's. I mean, I was very lucky. I did
Yeah.
Macbeth at GCSE, and Macbeth is a very good Shakespeare to study because it's got a strong plot and a lot of murders in it. And if you're a
And it's
teenage boy,
fast.
that's great.
Yes.
It's fat, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Fast and short.
Yeah, but I think there's not enough emphasis on
No.
the watching of the play as it's supposed to be seen.
And that can be true whether it's filmically as well. I thought, what I still think, even though the critics were snooty about it, Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, for a 13 or 14-year-old girl and boy to watch that, yes, some of the poetry is a bit mangled, but it's a beautiful thing to look at because it's Zeffirelli, and you look as if you're. It looks as if you're looking sort of at a real life opera, and the text is curtailed. But as an introduction, it's beautiful because you can follow the plot, the passion, the antagonism between the two families. There are so many things which are relatable, and even though it's regarded as it's not highly regarded by critics, to go back to you, but sod them. It's a brilliant thing as an intro to Shakespeare for a young person to see. You know more about this than I do, but would you agree?
Oh, I would. Whenever I start working with a group of students on Shakespeare, I'll show them the same scene from the Zeffirelli version and
Right.
the Baz Luhrmann version.
Yeah, that's
And
very clever.
It's
Well done.
really interesting because I show them the scene in which he is told that Juliet has died. And you show them both versions, and then you say, okay, which one of those could you understand more? And they always say that the complication is the language. That's the barrier. The barrier is always the language. Which one can you understand more? The Baz Luhrmann one.
Right.
That's the full text. So you can understand the full text
That's
as
interesting.
opposed to the Zeffirelli, where it really is cut down
It
dramatically.
really is. It
Yeah.
really is.
But it's told in a cinematic language that they're familiar with. 'cause
That's
it's a very
it, yeah.
modern
So that's
filming.
where context, I think, with Shakespeare can work really well. You know, it can if you update it. Well, I've seen it updated appallingly. I have seen a King Lear in space, and I don't. And it was at the Edinburgh Fringe about 15 years ago, and I don't know why they hadn't changed anything apart from to do some zero gravity walking, and that was it. That was it.
Right, you suddenly reminded me of one of the hits of one of the very early Edinburgh shows. It might have been 1979, and it was a big hit, and it was called 2001, and it was he set it. There were only 2 audience members because it was set in an old Ford Zephyr. And he played all the characters while riding around Edinburgh. And he did about 10 shows a day and made a profit because word spread. It was, 2001. a real spectacle. And word spread, and they were accused to get into the 2 seats at the back. Wow. But I think King Lear in space. Oh dear, oh dear.
It was remarkable.
Sorry, that reminds me of something else. You know the Amityville Horror and all that rubbish. The book, talking about Dan Brown, the book's so rubbish. The story is false, paranormal rubbish. There was Amityville, and then there was a series because it was a franchise, and there was a whole program I saw on television about it, and it was, Amity 2, The Further Nightmare, and it ended with number 13 was set in the Bronx, and it was called Amityville in the Hood. This is true, and I bet there's been one after that.
Oh, yes.
They did that Leprechaun in the Hood with Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. And they did that in space, they did one in the Hood. And then, of course, Friday the 13th, number 8 is Jason Takes Manhattan. And that's actually one of the stronger installments.
It's not.
It really is.
Oh,
yeah,
good Lord.
It's actually rather, for what it is, it's actually rather good. But the Romeo and Juliet, of course, were all from... we're not Tony, but we're from near Liverpool, very strong theatre town. But if I see one more version of Romeo and Juliet where the Capulets are Liverpool fans and the Montagues are Evertonians,
except
so obvious.
I saw your production, and I think I played the Prince in voiceover, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And I saw the production, and this is not just to flatter you, I absolutely loved it. And they were Scousers, and the passion. They were very young.
17.
They're 17, and so it really made sense. There was such passion on stage. So well done you, and well done them.
But that's when Ben Jonson, sort of what he said comes true. Shakespeare was for all time.
Yes.
If you can get those kids to interact with it, those emotions, we all have those same emotions. I mean, you can't use Stanislavski, really, especially not if you're doing Titus Andronicus or something like that.
That's more complicated.
Yes. However, but they can enjoy the blood and the guts and the shouting, of course.
Sure.
If you introduce it that way.
Pinter and Ionesco equally, perhaps not for 13-year-olds, because, a 13-year-old would read it and say, "What the F is this, sir? What's all these pauses? Who are they talking to? What's this meaningless old shit?" And you can have good productions and bad productions. Productions I was in. Well, we can all talk about productions.
Yes, yeah.
I did lots of plays when I was at Cambridge. One of the ones which sold out because it was so awful, it sold out every night because word got round that it was hilarious, and it wasn't meant to be. I was playing Edward II, lovely verse by Christopher Marlowe, but the director had the wrong ideas. There were fight scenes which looked like Morris dancing because everyone had poles. We're all dressed in khaki, so we looked like hippies. The bit where as happens in the play, as happened in real life, is where I'm executed with a red-hot poker on fire, put into my fundament, as it says, that I have to scream. And it was packed out because on one night they pulled my trousers down, I was sort of bent over, and there was some kind of plastic thing to cover my bottom, and and there was no blackout, and my pants caught fire. And because there was no blackout, the guy who was executing me took the poker out and went, and then there was a blackout, and the audience was laughing all the way through, and it was a campus production. It was a kind of gay. I wasn't quite out then, really, but the director was out, and he was head of the Cambridge Gay Society, and so we got all his friends, some of whom were, it must be said, this is derogatory, were just incorrigibly camp. And so it was endless bishops coming on in khaki going, "I'll give to you, my lord," what's that? I'll give to you, my lord, this message. Don't look at me. But it was just like a Frankie Howard thing. Sold out, funniest production ever, for all the wrong reasons. You've been in school plays.
I've been in a variety, but I was in a version of The Ghost Train by Arnold Ridley, where there were, I think the cast is about 9 people and 3 of us were sober. for every production.
Oh, right.
And unusually, I was one of them. But so that nobody else had any idea where we were in the script, and there were three of us just trying to keep the whole thing moving. It was.
I'd pay to see that. What's about you, Paul, performance-wise?
I think, well, one of the first jobs I did was I took the role of Casca in Julius Caesar. In one of the strangest productions ever. It was directed by an American who decided that we absolutely had to have guns. That was all he cared about, so long as there were guns. But we opened in the Unity Theatre, which is a very small theatre.
Where is it, Paul?
It's in Liverpool. It's about 5 minutes walk from here. It's a beautiful theatre, but it's quite small. And he brings out these guns, and they're like hand cannons, these things. So every time one is shot, the percussion around the place, the smoke going off. So we couldn't see anything.
So we're really talking about America today.
We
Trump.
are, yeah. Yes. Except for one moment where he decided that there should be a sword fight. For no reason at all. So I'm ready for this fight, but the place is thick with smoke from these guns that have just been cut off. And all that was meant to happen is he lunges at me, I step back, his sword apparently goes into the floor, except we couldn't see a damn thing. So he lunged at me, his sword went in just below the kneecap on my leg. And as it moved down, I heard the noise of my own shin.
Oh.
And luckily, then I died. But lying there then, because he insisted, because Shakespeare would want you to stay dead till the end of the act. Well, he would, but he also wouldn't want you shooting a Colt 45 in my face either.
So it's the same principle as things set in neo-childless Glasgow, and everyone's played by nuns.
Exactly.
And Othello is someone from the black and white minstrels.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful.
It's true. I mean,
It is.
People may find that offensive, but these sorts of things do happen. And you kind of, for God's sake. I was wondering, said to me, accomplished director, he said, the thing is, if it's a good play, trust the text and take it from there.
You've got to be careful when you use guns in the theatre as well, because I remember being in a production of something where, I can't remember what the play was, but I had to emerge from the door at the back of the auditorium and fire a starting pistol into the air. So a gunshot comes from behind the audience. The whole audience jump. It's a great moment. But then I have to walk with a face like fury from the back of the crowd onto the stage. And what happens after people in the theatre have had a big surprise? They laugh.
Yeah.
They go, oh, thank God, it was nothing serious. Aren't we silly for jumping? They have a laugh of relief. And I'm trying to stay absolutely... And everybody's just wetting themselves around me because they're so glad they haven't been killed.
Well, if we have my lovely partner, Mark, who's Broadway and West End Star, and the same thing happens in Blood Brothers. The laughter after the tension, after the gunshot, when, I'm not giving anything away, when the boys die, and it's one of the most dramatic things in modern stagecraft and playwriting by the brilliant Willie Russell, and the release of tension often means that there is laughter. Mark's in the corner as we speak. That's true, isn't it? Right. And I've seen it over the years, over 15 years or whatever. There was one attempt where the director or the producers in fact, how can we deal with this? And so it was bang, bang. And before the audience did that, and then laughed, it went bang, bang. And the music surged up. And it was a good try, but you'll never stop the laughter.
No.
And then the narrator walks forward and it calms down. So it's exactly what you said.
Yeah, that's why horror is very difficult to get right in a theatre.
Indeed.
Because after the scare, there's that release of tension where people laugh, and it just kills the atmosphere. It must be so difficult being the mother in Blood Brothers during that laugh when you're grieving your sons on stage. You know, that must be a really hard.
It's difficult for everyone on stage. In that wonderful play, yes.
But to answer your earlier question, I think that's what art is. It's something that produces a genuine emotional reaction from people, isn't it? If you've got that proper emotional resonance, that's a piece of art.
And that doesn't have to be happiness.
Not at all.
Anger is such a valid emotion.
I mean, I suppose the worst art leaves you completely feeling nothing. And what's the point then if you don't feel anything? From the spectrum from rage to despair. Dislike is a reaction, but if you just look at it and feel absolutely nothing, you might as well be staring at a blank wall. which has often gone for art in the Warhol years.
We've strayed a little from
Sorry,
drawing.
that's okay. Drawing. It started with drawing, yes.
But that's the joy of it. End up anywhere.
Yes.
Although, of course, we've kind of come full circle because of that moment in art where, towards the end of the play, he actually draws a stick figure on the portrait.
That's
doesn't
right.
he? So
There we are.
Well done,
you've
you.
subconsciously
Yes.
We got there
circled
in the
back.
end.
Yeah.
We did.
This program is absolutely perfect.
So, Tony, we are back in the shed after another lovely ramble. Have you enjoyed this week?
I've enjoyed it hugely, and it did ramble in the sense of it was like a lit match carelessly tossed into a box of fireworks. Yes, we got burned, but gosh, it was exciting.
It was. So thank you once again for listening, and we really hope that you enjoyed joining us this week.
Yes, the club meets every Friday, but if you'd like to get in touch in the meantime, here's how you can find your fellow members.
Yeah, Tony's official website, www.tonyslattery.com. You can get in touch with us right there. We can get a message to Tony even. There's a contact form on the website there.
And we're on Twitter, @SlatteryLive. Use the hashtag TSLC to discuss this week's topics.
I can be found on Twitter @PaulCarmichaelV.
And Tony also has a Facebook group, which is at www.facebook.com/groups/TheTonySlattery.
And we have Instagram as well. Not that any of us quite understand how it works yet, but we are getting there, and that can be found at Tony_Slattery_official.
And if people want to join the Rambling Club themselves, how do they do that?
Well, you can head to www.patreon.com/SlatteryLive, where you're going to find all sorts of really interesting nuggets, such as one episode a month that you will never hear anywhere else. Lots of other bits and pieces for you. Well, it's well worth going across there and having a look at what you could be in for if you become a member of Club Slattery.
So please do get in touch by any of those methods. We would be delighted to hear from you.
So we'll be back, all three of us, next week with another ramble next Friday. So until then, it's a goodbye from Mr. Alan Lear.
Goodbye.
It's a goodbye from me, Paul Carmichael, and it's a goodbye from the president of the Rambling Club, Mr. Tony Slattery.
Goodbye, and thank you for listening.
You have been listening to Tony Slattery's Rambling Club with your host, the club president, Tony Slattery, with Stephen Fry as the voice of the magical bingo machine. Tony was assisted by Paul Carmichael and Alan Lear. The music is by Michael Livesley and the show's concept is by Paul Carmichael. Our producer is Erika Lear and our executive producer is Mark Strixen. Tony Slattery's Rambling Club is a Van Vanitel production.